Alhamdulillah, wassalah, wassalam, ala Rasul al-Kareem, wa ala ali baytihi, wa azwajihi, wa zuriyatihi, wa ashabihi, wa man tabi'ahum ila yawmiddin. Amma ba'd. As for that which comes after, so I welcome you, brothers and sisters, again to this exercise that we engage in this month of Ramadan, a month of the Quran, and it is a month where we try to at least be aware of our responsibilities and to be engaged in ibadah, in however small it is. You know, the Prophet ﷺ said that you should take small actions because Allah does not get tired. You know, it is the nature of the human beings to take big actions. You know, you take big something, but then how last you burn out before it's finished. But if you take small actions consistently, okay, it is more fulfilling and it trains the soul. And the Prophet ﷺ said that Allah does not get tired. Okay, so we should pace ourselves. Now, this great surah, Suratul Mulk, is an overlooked surah. When I say overlook, if you get to understand the qualities of this surah and the blessings of this surah, you'll understand why I said that. Now, the word mulk, it comes from the Arabic verb malaka. Malaka, which means to take possession of something, to seize, to dominate, to own something, to be capable, to have the ability to overwhelm, to conquer, to be the uppermost. So the word mulk, the name of this surah, is a noun, and it comes from that verb, malaka. And it means a rulership. You know, like like we might say the rule of the Spanish or the rule of the British over the Caribbean islands. So it is the mulk. Okay, it means supreme authority, dominion, domination, power, kingship, royalty, monarchy, tenure, holding the right of possession, ownership. So this is this is an indication of what this surah, okay, deals with. It deals with the sovereignty. And we live in a time where people seek to dominate each other. Okay, we live in a time where people seek to dominate each other. We live in a time where the state seeks all means and ways to dominate its citizens, to dominate the people they are responsible for. This is the age of superpowers, who call themselves superpowers, who think that they have the mulk in their hands. They are sovereign over the whole world. So this surah is appropriate for our time, because these are the challenges that we face as a Muslim, especially us, as a Muslim minority under non-Islamic rule. Okay, how does that mulk of the kuffar affects us? How do we respond to it? And what are the Islamic imperatives that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala call us to fulfill? You see, and these are the issues that the Muslim leadership should be involved in. How do we engage with a non-Muslim society? Should we just run away? Should we just stay in the masjid? Should we just be involved in politics non-stop? What is the balance? What is the balance of our engagement and our responsibilities to call people to the deen? And calling to the deen is not just calling to 5 daily prayer, because the deen is much more than 5 daily prayer. Calling to the deen and establishing the Sharia as much as we could. We don't live in an Islamic state, so there are a lot of things that we can do, and we recognize that. We recognize that. And from our experience, we have learned how to engage with this society. But there are still a lot of young people who think that they are caliphs, who think that they are the army of Islam. And what they are doing, which is basically criminality, right? They act as if they are carrying out the duties of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Don't use no other wire unless the original Apple wire.
Okay, inshallah.
That wire we had before,
okay,
blew it.
All right,
so this is mine from the car. This is you by the main one.
Okay, I'm sorry about that. Yes. Yeah. Sorry about that. So what I was saying is that we have this big problem as Muslims, and we have to engage with it, right?
Don't use them.
In terms of finance, how do we organize our finances? How do we organize our families, our education? All these things are very important. And all of them has to do with mulk. Because Allah is the one that gives the people in charge of this society the mulk. The power to rule doesn't come from nobody else. I mean, Allah gave America that power. Allah gave Russia that power. Allah gave Israel that power. Allah gave Trinidad and Tobago government that power. So if Allah gave that power, and Allah gave us certain responsibilities, then we have to have wisdom in how we engage, okay, with our societies and where we are. Now, Suratul Mulk, it is the 67th chapter of the Quran, Surah of the Quran, and it holds a special place in the hearts of Muslims because it has a profound message about the creation of the heavens and the earth and the universe that we live in. It concerns the signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the consequences of human action. Right? If you look at all of these, where does the power lie? Where does power lie? Power lies with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the exercise of power has consequences in the day of judgment. How you exercise the power of your free will, you will have to answer for it. How you exercise your power over your wife and your children, you will have to give an account to Allah, your Lord, as to how you distributed that power, how you use that power. So it tells us about a lot about the day of when we are held responsible, the day of Qiyamah, the day when we stand up before Allah to give an account. Basically, it is a Meccan surah, which means that it was revealed in Mecca. Okay, we know that there are surahs that have been revealed in Mecca, and there are surahs that has revealed in Medina. Also, there are surahs that part of it, the major part of it was revealed in Mecca, and a small portion was revealed in Medina, but it is still considered a Meccan surah because the majority of it was revealed in Mecca. Now, Mecca, what was going on in Mecca? Where did power lie in Mecca? In Mecca, power lied with the Quraysh. The Quraysh were a conglomeration of tribes that had family connection to the Prophet Ismail alayhi salam, the son of Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam, and his wife Hajar, who was an Egyptian, and they married also into the other Arab tribes. Okay, Ishmael is not the father of the Arabs. This is a wrong thing that people say, because Ishmael was Arabized. He's called Musta'arib. Somebody was Arabized because he married into the Arab tribes of Jurhum that that Hajar, his mother, encountered when Ibrahim alayhi salam left them in the valley of Mecca. You know that story where they were left in the valley of Mecca and she was seeking water. And that whole scenario we enact it during the Hajj. Okay, so the Hajj is an honor and respect by all of Muslims and all of humanity. We give that respect to that woman, Hajar. The running between Safa and Marwa, the two mountains, that was her anxiety as a mother, whose son was dying from thirst. Okay, so that the whole situation, the whole observances in Mecca has to do with the family of Ibrahim alayhi salam and Adam alayhi salam, because the first house was established in Mecca under the prophethood of Adam alayhi salam, our father, and the father of all humanity. But mainly, the majority of the Hajj is concerned with Ibrahim alayhi salam and his family. Now, the Prophet alayhi salam was engaged in carrying the message of Tawheed, okay, to the Quraysh, who were in power. Power at the time rested with the Quraysh, and the Arabs followed the Quraysh. Okay, the Arabs respected the Quraysh, and the Quraysh were a noble tribe amongst the Arabs, and the one who they chose to follow. They was what we'll call like natural leaders in the society. So here was the Rasulullah calling back the children, quote unquote, of Ismail to the oneness of Allah. And here was the children of Ismail opposing that message. Okay, so that was the scenario in Mecca. The exact time when this surah was revealed, we don't know. There's no historical account when its first surah or ayats were revealed. We don't know, right? But it is generally believed to have been during the middle or later part of the Meccan period. This prophet spent about 10 years in Mecca. So it was either between the middle or the later part of the time that the prophet spent in Mecca. And it had to do with his dawah, how he engaged the power center, in Mecca, the Quraysh, with what? The message of Tawheed. And we should take lessons from this. Our primary duty is to call people to the oneness of Allah. We don't call people to jihad. We don't call people to dhikr. We don't call people to anything. First thing we call people to is Tawheed. After that, once you are grounded, okay, then you are asked to remember Allah kathiran. Remember Allah, do dhikr kathiran. And after that, we are asked to struggle in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay, with our energies we have, with our wealth, with ourselves, okay, and all of our possessions in the path of Allah. And that does not always be, it is not always a military thing. Okay, the word jihad is a wide word, it's very comprehensive. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, you know, what jihad be, and make jihad with them with the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He said make jihad with the book. You don't mean we line up and just tell Quran at a big army, you know. But we use the Quran to wage war, an ideological war, and a response to the society that we live in. So Allah say make jihad with this book, with this Quran. So if we don't know enough of the Quran, how can we wage war with that? The first thing that they teach you as a soldier is how to use your weapon, how to clean it, how to break it down. You have to have thorough knowledge of your weapon, because that is what will protect you. So in the same way, in our engagement with this society, we must have thorough knowledge of the Quran, so that we can protect ourselves, so that we can engage and we can give conquest to the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. La ilaha illallah. Okay, that is what this whole thing is about. So this society in Mecca, you know, basically they were involved in idol worship. In those days, the idol was stone and wood. Okay? But shirk is not just stone and wood. Shirk could mean that, you know, we worship personalities. We worship men. We worship money. We worship ourselves. We worship our wives. We worship our husband. You know, shirk is not only having to do with idols. This is something that we have to get our minds out of. Okay? Shirk is not just idolatry. Because the Prophet ﷺ, I mean, Allah says in the Quran that the Jews made their rabbis and their wise men, okay, Arabs and their wise men, lords, and that is shirk. Okay, so if you think that the risk or the sustenance come from your boss, and you're afraid to go Juma, you're afraid to identify as a Muslim, that is shirk. Okay, I'm not talking about consequences where I encounter a situation with a woman in America. She had no support from her community, absolutely none. She was a single parent, and she had to work, and they were giving her pressure on the work, and she had to tie her head instead of wearing the full hijab. And the community were condemning her, and she was asking me. I told her, don't study that community, because they are not fulfilling their responsibilities towards you. Because if you stop working and you go, you just take off your hijab totally, and you I mean, you put your hijab on totally and you leave the work, they are not going to help you. They are not going to pay your rent. They are not going to help your children get to school. They ain't going to do nothing for you. You know, so we know that there are difficult circumstances, but I'm not speaking about that. I'm speaking about because we know in Islam that if they hold you and they torture you, let me say for any particular reason, and you with your mouth denounce Islam, that don't count because of the pressure, okay, and the oppression. I'm talking about that. I'm talking about when somebody thinks that the that their boss is a lord, or the prime minister is a lord, or the army or the police service is a lord, or some bad man on the block is a lord. Lordship or mulk belongs to Allah and Allah alone. So they resisted him. Okay, they resisted him because the Quraysh dominated and they had economic power. And because of this economic power, if they accepted the Tawheed, they thought in their minds that they will lose power. They will not be able to control the economics of Mecca at the time, which was basically based on trade. So they opposed the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu, and they sought to maintain the status quo. So what are the topics that this surah deals with? Number one, it deals with the sovereignty of God. Okay, that Allah is the true and only ruler of the universe, and He's responsible for creating the heavens and the earth, and He's responsible for everything that on this planet and in the what we don't know among the stars and the universe. Now it is interesting. The first sect in Islam, the first people who went out, okay, because Islam is seen as a family. Okay, the first people who went out are the Ummah. The Ummah is like a mother. Similar words. The Ummah is like a mother. Is mother. The Ummah, or the nation of Islam, the community of Muslims, at the time of the Rasul Sallallahu, the first people who went out away from that community are called the Khawarij. Those who went out. And they went out because of sovereignty. They were displeased with how Ali radiallahu anha, how he dealt with the murderers of Uthman. That's a long history. But basically, they were displeased how the ruler acted. And they put their Quran they put the Quran on their spears and say that there's no hukum illa billah, that there's no rulership, there's no mulk except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Ali said is a very good statement, but they intended mischief by it. Okay, so we have to be careful how people use this deen for mischief. Okay, he said it's a good statement. I mean, none of us can disagree that the hukum or the rulership is for nobody else except Allah. Right? But by saying that, they wanted people to go against Ali and not have patience with the ruler, and when he will implement whatever he has to implement. Okay, so the first confusion, the first fitna had to do with sovereignty, rulership. And the second fitna was the fitna of the Shias, and that fitna had to do also who will rule. The Shias say that it should only be the people who have blood relationship to the Prophet Sallallahu, and the other Muslims say no, any righteous or pious Muslim can take that position. So these two early separation from the Ummah had to do with rulership and leadership. And we have seen this thing pop its head all over the world where Muslims are. There's always some problem with the leader. There's always some problem with the leadership. There's always some problem with the followership. There's always some problem with who to lead and who not to lead and what to lead and how to lead. Right? The general thing is that you should have patience. Okay, but you also have to advise the ruler, even if you become unpopular. Okay? because some leaders feel that you shouldn't, that if you tell them, brother, that wrong, you hate them. You don't hate them. That's your duty as a Muslim to tell your leader that, right? But at the same time, not go around and use that as a fitna to undermine his leadership. All these things is very important. So how we engage with power, this surah Mulk has to deal with it. Okay, and we look at our history as Muslims. What happened and how it happened and why it happened. Okay, and the Prophet ﷺ said that this deen will go good as long as its umara, its leaders, the amirs, the imams, and its ulama, its scholars, are good. So the two biggest responsibility in the Muslim community is the umara. First, those who lead, and the second is the ulama, the scholars, students of knowledge. Okay, that is why in the Indian subcontinent, the alim or the scholar is called Maulana. Maulana just means somebody who protects the deen, somebody who protects the rights of the people if the leadership become oppressive. Okay, that is what it means, our protector, our Maula. Now, it also deals with the how temporary life is. This surah. Okay, how temporary life is. Life is very temporary. And one thing about mulk outside of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is that every mulk that we have, we will be responsible for it. The Prophet ﷺ said, Kullukum imam. Kullukum, all of you are imams. All. And you're responsible for those under you. The husband is an imam for his family. In the absence of the husband, the wife is an imam for the family. And so everybody have responsibility, and how they exercise that duty, they will be questioned. Okay? Only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is free from being asked how he disposes his power. He is free because he does what he wills. Okay? But us, the power that we have, the little power that we have, the little responsibilities that we have, power comes with responsibilities in Islam. Okay, every position of leadership in Islam, you are held responsible. Okay, that is why the Prophet ﷺ said that the imams will be raised in chains on the day of judgment. They'll be raised chain up. Okay? And for all of their good leadership, certain chains will fall off. Okay, this is what the Prophet ﷺ said. And that is why he tell Abu Huraira, don't take leadership. Because he knew something about Abu Huraira that he couldn't handle that. Okay, because leadership is a big thing. That is why the leaders have wazirs. A wazir is somebody who helps the leader with the burden. That is what a wazir is. Okay? To help somebody lift something up. Okay, so the wazirs are not supposed to pull the leaders down. A wazir is somebody who helps the leader take the weight. Because the leadership is a very serious thing. So you have to help the leader, in exercising his leadership. Okay? So leadership in Islam is a communal thing. Okay? It's a communal. It has to do with the community supporting the leader and the leader supporting the community. So, and all of that, we will be held accountable for. Okay? All of that will be held accountable for. And that is the central story is the central topic in Surah Al-Mulk, accountability. And those who deny the truth will be held accountable. And the spiritual significance of Surah Al-Mulk, which I was telling you about, It is recited by Muslims seeking protection from the torments of the grave. Very important. Very, very important. Because we have to face, when we die, we have to face the torment of the grave. That is the first stage in your death. When you die, the next stage, when they put you down in the grave, you have to face the torment of the grave. This is a very scary thing. To me, it's more scary than dying. Okay, if you're dead, you're dead. But when you're dead, you have to face something else. I mean, that is deep, and it's the torment of the grave. And the Prophet Muhammad SAW encouraged his companions to recite this surah every night, because this surah intercedes, okay, for the believer in the grave. And I would like to read some of the I would like to read to you some of the names and the benefits of this surah. Now, all of these things are important before we go into the verses. Okay, all of these things are very important before we go into the verses themselves. So have a little patience and learn, take notes, because this is very important. This surah has many names. Many names. Okay? It is called Waqiah. It is called Munajiyah. It is called Al-Mani'ah, because it protects its companion. So if you are a companion of this surah, which means that you read it a lot, you are aware of it, you memorize it, it protects its companion, or it saves its companion from the punishment of the grave and the affairs of the last day. Okay? The affairs of Yawm al-Qiyamah. It is also called Al-Mujadila, that which intercedes or that which argues. Okay? Because it argues on behalf of the person who is its companion. When they mean the companion of the surah, what they mean by companion of the surah, of this surah, it means that you are familiar with it, you regularly recite it. Okay? And it is it accompanies you in the grave. This surah. And the Prophet ﷺ spoke about it in many hadiths, the benefits of this surah. And he says that the Prophet ﷺ said that indeed there's a surah in the book of Allah that has about 30 verses. And it intercedes, okay? It intercedes for someone, or for the man or woman on the day of Qiyamah, on the day of judgment. It intercedes for you on the day of judgment. It begs Allah on your behalf on the day of judgment. And by means of it, the believer is taken out of the fire of hell and enters into the Jannah. And it is this surah Tabaraka. Sometimes they name the surah sometime among the companions and the Prophet ﷺ by its first verse. The first verse is Tabaraka. So Tabaraka means Surah Mulk. Okay? And there's another long hadith that when you are placed in the grave, your foot are unable to move. And then Surah Mulk will be there at your feet. Your head unable to think. Surah Mulk will be there at your head. Basically, it will be protecting you from the punishment of the grave. Okay, so we have the reality of life. Then we have the reality of the grave. Then we have the reality of what comes after the grave, which is Jannah or Jahannam, heaven or hell. And that interspace between this life and and the next life, it is called Barzakh. It's a space in between these two lives. Okay? It's a space in between these two life. It is called Barzakh. So during that time, the first question, we know about the first question. Who is your Lord? Man Rabbuka, who is your Lord? Who is your prophet? And what is your deen? These are 3 questions you have to answer. And based on your connection to these 3 things, to your Lord, to your prophet, and to your deen, you'll be able to answer. So this is how beneficial this surah is. So don't take it lightly. And that's what I said, that this surah is overlooked. Another surah is Surah Al-Waqiyah. Okay? That surah, once it is recited on a regular basis, it increase your risk, your provisions from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if you disbelieve it, try it. There's no harm in trying it. There's no harm in reciting Surah Mulk with the hope that it will intercede for you on the day of judgment. It will make your stay in the grave easy. Try it. It's better you try it and you reach there and you benefit by it, that you don't try it, and when you reach there, you say, oh man, I should have tried. Okay? And if the hadith is wrong, and nothing like that happens, then you will still gain benefit from reciting the Book of Allah. So it's a win-win situation. So we should think about it, because we are 3 realities. That is why the Prophet ﷺ said that you teach the companions the tashahhud, in the salah. He says say, right? A'udhu bika min fitnatul mahya wa mamati wa mahya, of life and death. Seek refuge in Allah from the trials of what? Life and death. And we seek refuge in Allah from the adhab al-qabr, from the punishment of the grave. And then we seek refuge in Allah from the punishment of the fire, which is after the grave. And then we seek refuge in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from the fitna of Dajjal. Okay, and this dua is overlooked, because I am sure, I could be wrong, but I believe that we live in the age of Dajjal. Okay? Not his physical appearances yet, but the whole system is being set up to receive him. And we seek refuge in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from the fitna of Dajjal. The fitna of Dajjal is a real thing. Okay, where people will be tested about who's Allah. They'll be tested about their sustenance, because Dajjal will move with a lot of food, and people will be hungry. People will be starving. But his food is not beneficial for you. And his starvation for you is better than his food. Okay? His fire for you is good for you, and his goodness for you is bad for you. And the Prophet ﷺ said that do not go and feel you can argue with the Dajjal. Some like to argue. Do not feel you can go and argue with the Dajjal. You see, but if I am present, I will argue with him on your behalf. But Prophet Sallallahu is not present. But he gave us certain things that we can use, like the first 10 ayats of Surah Al-Kahf, the cave, or the last 10. Some people say both of them. Some people say the first, some people say the last. But whatever it is, that is a protection from the Dajjal. Okay, this dua in Tahajjud, I mean the tashahhud after the end, after you say Tahiyatu, and then you say Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad, and then you make a dua. That dua at the end is very good too, because it's a constant reminder of all the trials that we will face as human beings. Okay, all these trials. But sometimes we just live and forget these things. Surah Mulk bring these things back to our thinking. Okay, so these are the beneficial aspects of Suratul Mulk. Anyone there who can read? Is anybody there that who can read the Arabic? Is anyone there?
Assalamualaikum, Ustad. Yeah, I hear.
Anybody there? Who can read? You want to try it?
Are you still on the road?
Well, anybody else there who can read? Any Quranic reader there? Let me see if anybody's scared to answer. It could be male or female, it doesn't matter to me. Okay, no, apparently there's nobody there that can answer. So let us go. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Okay. Suratul Mulk. Meccan, and it is 30 ayats. First verse. Tabarakalladhi biyadihil mulk wa huwa ala kulli shay'in qadir. Okay. Tabarakalladhi. When Allah says Tabarak, when Allah says Tabaraka, okay, the word Tabaraka comes from the word Baraka, and we know Baraka means blessings. So how can we bless Allah? I mean, Allah is the one who gave us blessings. But this here is an extended verb. It's called a mazid, an extended verb in Arabic. It doesn't mean the first meaning. The first meaning is to give blessings. Right? Tabaraka means that Allah is blessed above everything else. Okay? Allah is what? Blessed above everything else. We not be given blessing, but He's a source of blessing. Okay? He's the source of that blessing. Okay? So that form of the verb, Tabaraka, means that the idea of the verb goes back to the person. Right? So Allah is the one that gives baraka. Tabaraka is the action of the verb goes back to that person that is doing it. So Tabarakalladhi. Tabarak, Allah is Tanzah. He is free from all of the things that we describe existence with. Okay, Allah is free from these things. No, so when we say Allah is Al-Hayyu, Allah is the living. Living is part of existence, right? But the source of life is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's why He's called Al-Hayyu. Okay? So when these things are described to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He's above it. So if you notice in this surah, from the jump, Allah is dealing with what we call Tawheed, the usul. This is the first usul in Islam, Tawheed. This is why the Muslims in Mecca were so strong. Those first early companions were very strong because they were brought up with a proper schooling Some people come in Islam and they want to move too fast. They come in Islam 2 weeks, a month, a year, and they're arguing about socks, they're arguing about pants, they're arguing about all kind of different things that have no really concern. If you question them on their usul, on their basic Islam, they don't know. I challenge anybody. They want to, this and that and this and that. What is your usul? What is the basic thing that you're responsible for? Oh, brother, oh, sister. What are the basic things? And the first thing is Tawheed. Your Aqidah. This is what you call Aqidah. The first thing that you're responsible for is to understand who is your Lord. Once we know who is our Lord and how to understand how to deal with our Lord, then life becomes very easy. So first thing you understand that this Allah is free from the attributes of existence. He's above existence. Okay? So immediately we take ourselves away from the Christian concept. We take ourselves away from the Mushrikeen concept. We take ourselves away from the God of science. They say the God of science, he created everybody and then he run away and leave creation to their own. Okay? So, Tabarakalladhi alladhi, he who biyadihi, in his hands. Okay? In his hands, al-mulk. Okay? So we say Allah is blessed above everything else. Alladhi, he who. Okay, Alladhi, this is referring to Allah. Okay? It's referring to Allah. Alladhi who biyadihi, in his hands. In his hand is mulk. There's a Christian man going around saying that our God, our Allah has one hand. So he draw a picture of a man, a one-hand man. This is the nonsense that we have to face We have to face. Right? Because for us to understand things, Allah has to use our language. Okay? But Allah is above language. Okay? It don't mean Allah has some 5-finger hand. Right? It could be metaphorical. Okay? But we go by what he says. But we don't take it literal. Like that fool who have a pity of a one-hand man and say that is the Muslim God. Nonsense. Because it says the yadihi. Yad is one. This is yad. This is my hand is a yad. Yadun, a had. Okay? And it means that he is the one, when they say in his hands, it means that he's the one that is responsible for power. He's the one who is responsible to distribute power. He's the source of power. Power is in his hands. It come like, when we say what will the president of America do if they attack? And the politician will say the power is in the hands of the president to do so and so. It don't mean the president have a missile in his hand, a boat, a destroyer. We use it in everyday life. We can say the training of this child is in the hands of the mother and father. And nobody think that the mother and father have all the different elements of training in their hand physically. Nobody will say that. But why will you come with a stupid idea and refer to Allah about having one hand? Okay, but this is language. And Allah is above language. But Allah has found a way to communicate with us. Not found a way. Allah has a way, to speak to us in a language that we understand. Okay, because we use it every day. The security of the state is in the hands of the police. It don't mean one policeman walking around with a baton, a gun, a bazooka, pepper spray, a jail walking on I have a prison on the back. No. It means that he is responsible for that. Okay, and he deals with it. He deals with it, sorry. And what is in his hands? The mulk. Mulk, sovereignty, power, the ability to the ability to dispense power, the ability to take power, you know, the one who is the true king, the one who has true dominion, the one who's overwhelmed. He can overwhelm everyone. Right? And they said here, Jalalan said, Al Mulk as Sultan. You know, the Jalalain say, Al Mulk as Sultan. That when we say Mulk, we are talking about a Sultan, the power, the one with power. Salata, the one with power. The Sultan is the one who has power. Wa Kudra. What? Kudra. And he has the ability to do things. Because sometimes a man may be powerful, but he has no ability. You know? So he in charge, you know, but he weak. Right? But when you have Sultan and Kudra, means that you're in power and you have the ability to do. You have the ability to act. You have the ability to get things moving, to get things going. وَهُوَ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ قَدِيرٌ. And he is on all things. Qadir. Okay? Qadir and Qudra, same from the same root. He's on all things. There's nothing in this world that Allah doesn't have power over. So he has power over everything. Everything. Even if you kill a man now, wrongfully, the power to do that comes from Allah. And you'll be held responsible. Okay? Because you cannot do nothing without Allah. Even the worst wrong you can think about. Anybody who does it, they does it by the power of Allah, because the power to do it comes from Allah. But there's a big but. You'll be held responsible on how you use your power. Because Allah also gave us free will. Okay? Freedom to act. And that's why it's a day of Qiyamah. When you have to stand up responsible for your deeds. Okay? So, وَهُوَ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ قَدِيرٌ. And Allah is on all things able. He has the power to do all things. الَّذِي خَلَقَ الْمَوْتَ. And he is the one that created death. So death is a creation. Life is a creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay, death is the absence of life. Okay, and life is the absence of death. So he's the one who created death. You know, in this world. Okay, because we see that nothing lives forever. Plants, animals, things, us, nothing lives forever. Okay, so we see, so Allah created life and death. So immediately Allah is pointing to, hey, this whole existence, watch me, everything belongs to me. And I even created death. So don't fear. Okay? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is bringing us to that reality. Wal haya and life. Okay, he said he created what? Khalaqal mauta wal hayata. He created death and he created life. As I said, both of them are creations of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Jalalain say, life fil akhirah, also life in hereafter. So the death, okay, when Allah said He created death, Jalalain said, fil fit dunya, in this world. There's no dying in the next world. There's no dying in the next world. There's no death. Even if they put you in, even if you are put into the fire, you don't die. Just constant punishment. So there's no death in the next world. So he says that al-maut fit dunya. Because death is part of existence that we live in. Wal haya, and life in al-akhirah. Okay, so life is here and there, over there. Or both of them exist. He said, "Aw huma fit dunya." Okay, that both of them are part of life. Okay, so that there is responsibilities of that life, and there is responsibilities in the next life, how you live this life, which comes to an end by maut, by death, and it takes you on another travel, okay, to the next life, where you are questioned and put in your appropriate places. So I'll stop here because there's a lot of information I give you all. I don't want to overload, inshallah. Okay, I really don't want to overload. I mean, I don't know if we will complete all the surahs in this month, but even if we haven't completed, after the rest of Eid and people rest over, we can finish up, inshallah, for those who want to. Okay, so if we get enough people to continue after the Eid, I'm not talking about maybe about a week or two after the Eid, we can continue if we have not finished. Okay, but because I like to complete something that we started. So if we are not completed everything, then we shall go after the Eid, especially for those who want to. Inshallah. So I will stop here. So I will take any questions. Okay, I will take any questions. All right. Any questions? I'll ask again. Any questions? Okay, no questions, mashallah. So I will leave you to prepare yourself for your breaking of the fast. Okay, I'll leave you to prepare for the breaking of the fast. Assalamu alaikum rahmatullah wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Ustaz.
Wa alaikum salam. This man's so